that face, follow that face, follow that face. Okay, cool. Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make a cake that I've wanted to do for a really long time, and it's called songgou in Chinese, and that translates into loose cake. The reason it translates into that is essentially you sift and you actually make the crumbs of each cake and then you steam it. So it's a really crazy process because it's a gluten-free cake. You assemble all of the rice flour and the water and the sugar together, and then you sift the little pieces of crumb right into the cake. Usually different fillings to this, so you can use like nuts, you can use seeds. Traditionally it's red bean, and I'm gonna do it with red bean and jujube, if you guys haven't heard of that. It's kind of like Chinese dates. It's actually super, super fragrant. I will say that the cake has a tendency to be on the dry side. I have checked out a couple of recipes and they're all a little bit, that way. And so I have seen recipes where instead of adding water, they will add maybe like some coconut milk or a little bit of fat to reintroduce some of kind of like that tenderness back into the cake. But if you want to try it kind of the original version, I mean, this is typically how it's done, then I can't wait for you guys to check this out with me because it is such a show-stopping piece, and it is so pretty with all of the layers. So I hope you guys all enjoy. So we're gonna make the crumbs to the cake first, and like I mentioned before, it's a mix of two different kinds of rice flours actually. Some long grain rice flour as well as some glutinous rice flour, which is generally a lot more sticky, it's a lot more soft, so it helps with the texture. I have some sugar in there as well as some water or coconut milk if you're looking to make this a little more tender. So recipe is all gonna be down below. But a nice tip for this is to put your liquid in rounds. So after kind of a little bit halfway through, you want to just mix it around, make sure that the liquid is evenly distributed before adding in your second one. And a good practice is to just make sure and mix it in your hands and then kind of rub it through, because that ensures that all of the big lumps are broken up and that the liquid is evenly distributed, so that you don't get, dry bits of the cake. And of course, later on, it's gonna help when you have to put all of this through a sifter. So cover up that mixture and let it hydrate, let it rest while you're preparing the filling. So this is something called jujubes, and like I said, it's kind of like Chinese dates. It's much more floral and it's not as sweet. And I like using it actually a lot in soups. And this one is fairly hydrated, but I do recommend soaking it in water for a couple of hours, and then I'm just de-seeding it right now. And I would say you'd need between like 15, maybe 20 if you wanted to decorate the cake a little bit more, but it's up to you. I would definitely cut it up into smaller pieces, but I wanted this to be kind of pretty, so it's going to be less practical and more beautiful. So I also cooked 1 cup of adzuki beans. So they were dry first. I cooked 1 cup of them, and now it became more. And I took about 1/3 of it, and I'm mixing it with 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Typically, the Chinese will use kind of that slab raw sugar, but brown sugar will be similar. And I'm just smashing that 1/3 bit up so that I get some parts of the beans whole and then some parts of the beans mashed for a nicer texture. So, depending on how fine your sifter is, you are going to just be here for a while. So, again, bring on an audiobook or something. I would recommend your mesh not be too fine. One, because it's really difficult. But two, I think if you had bigger pieces of crumb, it will result in kind of a more hydrated cake that way. So, if you have it too fine, kind of a little bit like this, I think it has a tendency to dry out a lot quicker. So if you have not so fine mesh, use that. And then this is a 7-inch bamboo steamer for dumplings and whatnot. And I put a silicone mat down below so that the rice flour doesn't stick. And then that jacket of parchment paper is necessary for the sides, but also because I want to build some height on my cake. And for the layers, I just made sure to keep everything consistent. I made sure to always use, like 1/3 of a cup measurements. And in terms of patting it down, you actually don't really want to pack it down. You just want to just kind of nicely smooth it over, maybe give it a little pat, and then that's it. So just alternate your layer of fillings, whatever you want. You can use nuts, you can use seeds, you can, I don't know, chocolate, I don't know. And then just add it in that way. Now, I won't bore you with too much of the decorations, but this is when your creative side can really shine. Afterwards, I kind of just mixed, red bean and a little bit of dates that I just cut up, and it turned out quite tribal, actually. But at this point, you want to have your steamer ready. You can preheat it, but you don't have to. I think it's harder to put the cake inside if it's steaming and piping hot. So bring that up to a boil, leave it on for medium high or so. You need a lot of water for this because this is going to be in there for like 45, 50 minutes. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of layers. There's a lot of things to really hydrate. So after the hour is up, this cake pretty much looked the exact same as when we put it in. I had no idea how to really tell whether it was done or not. But when I pressed it, all of the crumbs were together. So everything was stuck. So I gave it a couple of minutes, I think like 10, 15 minutes rest before I took it out and began the presentations. It is an absolute beaut. Just some history behind this, I guess. It's said to have originated from the Zhejiang province of China, so kind of the middle coast, just right underneath Shanghai. And in the past, I believe people have used not just water, but they've used lard in it as well. So it makes a lot of sense to maybe use coconut milk or add in a little bit of fat, depending on how you find this cake at first. That looks so pretty, doesn't it? I think all of the red bean layer came out really strong, and it wasn't until you cut into it that you saw the layer of jujubes, and it's just really, really pretty. Again, with this cake, if you leave it out even for a little bit, I do recommend re-steaming it or reheating it just to get the moisture back in. Feel free to save it for a couple of days, but yeah, it will harden up on you. And I was trying to get a nice kind of cake cutting shot, but yeah, the texture is a little bit different, but I have to say the flavor is magnificent. Just slightly sweet. The jujubes bring the floralness and the sweetness from the beans as well. Like it smelled amazing, and the taste was really, really good. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this cake. I know it takes a little while to make, but it's so unique, it's so cool, it's so special. So, really hope you guys all enjoyed watching it. As usual, if you want to see more recipes like this, remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys all again next time. Bye!